President Biden is expected to meet with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy Tuesday to pick up talks on raising the debt ceiling. It'll be exactly 1 week since their last face-to-face meeting in the Oval Office. Nicole Killian reports on how both sides are feeling about a potential deal.
Well, the White House remains optimistic ahead of Tuesday's debt limit talks. Speaker Kevin McCarthy says there has been little movement. There have been staff-level discussions over the last couple of days, but McCarthy says if they can't reach a deal this week, it could be very difficult to try to get any type of agreement through both chambers of Congress. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said that default should be taken off of the table and that any budget talks should run parallel with debt limit discussions. In a new letter, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned lawmakers that the so-called X date, when the U.S. could no longer pay its bills, could hit in early June, as early as June 1st. So that doesn't leave a lot of time for lawmakers and the White House to hammer out a deal after Tuesday's meeting. President Biden is set to depart for Japan and Australia. The Senate is due to recess at the end of this week. The House is due to recess at the end of next week. So again, John, not much time left.
Nicole Killian reporting from Capitol Hill. Thank you. I want to bring in Ian Bremmer. He is the president of the Eurasia Group and author of The Power of Crisis. And this is pretty much looking like a crisis or heading towards one. And the reason I wanted to talk to you, Ian, is because you know, there are players here. There's the market, there's the politicians, but then there are other countries watching whether the United States, which has the throw weight it does in the world economy, what's it doing? So how closely are foreign powers paying attention to this debt ceiling fight?
A little bit, but you know, in the same way that the American markets haven't particularly responded yet to the debt limit crisis, neither are foreign governments. The central bank governors that I've spoken to, for example, from allies of the United States, are all pretty much convinced that the United States will not default, that calmer heads will eventually prevail. And they're not going to get concerned until a crisis significant enough to force the Republicans and Democrats to do a deal cause market pain. That's when you'll see internationals start to make a difference.
Is there any way in which, so the G7 meeting, which is coming up, the meeting of advanced economies, President Biden is scheduled to go. Does he lose any standing? The whole point of the G7 is to get together and talk about maintaining the global economy and order. Does he lose any standing in that conversation because the U.S. may be on the verge of destabilizing the global economic order? Or does it just go back to your previous point, which is they're not at that panic stage yet?
They're not at that panic stage yet. So this week in Hiroshima on Friday, you'll see the G7 get together with a lot of additional allies that have been invited. They will talk primarily about coordinating economic policy vis-a-vis China. They'll be talking an awful lot about dealing with Russia and coordinating on that policy. The G7, John, for the last year plus, has been much more coordinated, much more consolidated in their policy orientation, especially on the back of the Russian invasion, than we've seen in decades. That will change if you see a meaningful crisis that looks like the Americans might, God forbid, default on actual debt payments and then see a credit downgrade. That will also be true if it looks like you're going to see a repeat of January 6th or the kind of dysfunction that we had in the 2020 elections repeat in 2024. But because neither of those things look imminent, they're not being discussed by the G7 right now.
Last question, Ian, is do you think U.S. intelligence officials have said that adversaries, China, Russia, could take advantage of a debt ceiling breach or fight? How do you see that playing out or that having any validity?
I'll tell you, John, the highest level intelligence officials in the United States right now continue to believe that the greatest danger to the United States is domestic. It's political dysfunction inside the United States. It's not leading by example. It's damage that the Americans, the world's most powerful country, can do to themselves. It's not the Chinese. It's not the Russians. So you still need to look at home. But of course, it's true that even with the global reserve currency that hasn't shifted at all in the last 10 years, the ability of the United States to shoot own goals economically can erode America's position in other countries around the world. That's more true for the developing countries where the Chinese are more dominant than it is with the American allies.
Ian Bremmer, president of the Eurasia Group and the author of The Power of Crisis. Always great to have you, Ian. Thanks.
Thanks, John. See you soon.